Welcome to the Paul White Show. We're glad you're here today. We are gonna on location, and I guess you can see from the rear of us, we are imposing on somebody's yard. But my guest today is Britt Elving from Gard'n-Wise, and we're going to talk about some products that you need to be using in your lawn. Probably get it just like this one, Britt.
Yep, it'd be great if people would use these products,
Right.
Paul, that you recommend and that you sell. You know, when we got out here a little earlier, I thought maybe we'd get some shots of some weeds, but
Right,
I'm telling you what, there's not a single weed out of place. It looks gorgeous. Of course, you've had a lot of rain, Paul, so
Yeah, we have.
that
So
that always
everybody's
kind of helps
lawn,
things.
yeah,
but
should be looking good.
It's in great shape.
Right now. Are there many new products coming out on the market these days, Britt?
Oh, there are. Kind of what the trend is going towards, Paul, and we've got some out here, is a lot of people want to use hose-in products, something that you can screw right onto your hose, attach to your hose, which eliminates any mixing, and everything's pre-measured. We still have the concentrates for bigger areas, but it's a convenient factor. So ready to use and ready to spray is some of the biggest thing. We'll talk about, if you want to, should we just jump in and talk about a couple of products?
Well, yeah, but I wanted to hit like people who planted new lawns. I guess as the viewing audience can see, we still got on a slight jacket here, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So we still in early spring. And the weather this year has been, man, you talking about up and down. It's got a lot of things, a lot of people, a lot of the plants are confused because we'll go 80 degrees for a week solid, then you come back down to ideal temperatures to plant grass, then the next thing you know, we back up to 75 or 80 degrees. I mean, that kind of plays, with your lawn and the things that you can do and when to do it and how to do them.
Sure.
So, it's just a country, but I am surprised that the lawns are looking as good. But like you said, some of that's contributed to the moisture fact that we've had and the cooler temperatures too. It really hadn't sustained long enough to affect the grass temperature. I know germination is real good this time of year, and you could probably cheat. The window for planting grass is closed some though, for time to plant.
I think typically we regard May 15th as kind of the cutoff for seeding or overseeding in the spring, but we certainly, if we can irrigate and the weather cooperates, we can certainly extend that out. This time of year, it's cool today, it's been cool all week, but it's going to bump right on up into the 80s, it looks like, coming up here in a couple days. So if those ground temperatures are warm, which they're going to warm up, that seed will germinate pretty quick, probably this time of year, probably 7 days, 10 days, you're going to start seeing it, and we just want to keep it damp, and I think we still got a pretty good window, at least another 30 days. Then we run into the heat, we run into weeds in the summertime, so at some point if we're just overseeding or filling in spots, we can do that about any time, but if we're going to renovate a lawn, once we kind of get a little bit towards June, we want to wait till fall. That's the ideal time, of course. Yeah, and we want to remember also, a lot of people put down crabgrass preventer in the spring. And that's the one product, an application almost everybody makes, and we need to remember that if we've made an application of the Fertilome All Seasons, that we can't put seed down at the same time because it works so well, it doesn't really know the difference between the crabgrass germinating seed and grass seed, so it'll inhibit it from. So if we've applied crabgrass preventer, then we can't seed until this fall.
Right. And that's always a question and a problem. Customers always ask, well, I need to kill the weeds, but can I plant my grass now too? Yeah. And you can only do either or.
That's a question we get all the time, and especially, of course, not here, Paul, at your place, but a lot of dandelions right now, henbit, chickweed, all the broadleaf weeds, which many of them came up last fall. We see them now. And we get questions, well, if I'm going to overseed, can I kill my dandelions, or do I have to wait? So here's kind of a tip. If we're using a product called Weed Free Zone, which we have on the table, we can spray a broadleaf weed in our lawns today, and within 2 weeks we can come back in and plant seed. Otherwise, Paul, if we go ahead and seed and we want to try and kill weeds, we want to wait until that new turf has matured enough that we've mowed it at least a couple of times,
Right.
then we need to wait a little bit.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's an often asked question.
Yeah, it needs to grow up before you put the chemical on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give your grass
There's a chance of damaging it. Yeah.
Right.
Not always,
Right.
but rule of thumb.
Right. Okay, so you just gave a little tip. The first application normally is the crabgrass preventer.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then we go by, now you can fertilize also, buy crabgrass preventer with fertilizer.
Absolutely.
Or buy it without the fertilizer and then put your own fertilizer on, like a Gard'n-Wise lawn fertilizer.
Yes.
With it.
Yeah. What we can do, and here it is, early May, and typically we want to have that crabgrass preventer down by about mid-April.
Right.
But if you haven't, it's not too late. There may be some crabgrass that may have germinated along sidewalks and driveways where the soil temperature is warmed up a little more rapidly, but we can still make an application and get that down and still prevent a lot of the weeds yet.
Okay. So, and also when you put do they have a crabgrass preventer on the market that can get it if it's already germinated? I know back in the past you had to catch the seeds before they germinated, but now there's a product that can still kill it after germination?
Well, there's a liquid product, not a granule really on the market, but a liquid. It's the Fertilome Weed Out, a crabgrass preventer with broadleaf weed control. Or crabgrass, weed out with crabgrass killer.
Right.
And we can spray that this summer. If we've got crabgrass coming up this summer, which we'll see, then we can make a post-emergent application. And it works best if we catch that just as early as we can. If it gets really big and mature in late July and August, it's really difficult to control.
All right, Brett, we need to take a commercial break and we'll be right back. You guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. We're visiting here on location. This just happened to be a little piece of land I've been blessed with. And
beautiful, Paul.
So this is one of the first years it's been like this, Brett. I must admit that it takes a while to get a lawn like this, you know, and you have to stay on it. I mean, when you start out and it looks like a field, it's very discouraging to get a lawn. You know, and you work year after year after year, but it takes a while. I'm under the understanding too, and it works that way, that it takes a good lawn like this, and if you keep your applications on it, you know, the 4 applications they recommend to put on them, that a lawn like this will last 10 years.
Easily, Paul. Easily.
Because you're taking care of the root system, you know, and it's not fighting with the weeds all the time and all them other diversities that, you know, that'll knock it down.
You know, the right application at the right time doesn't require a lot of work. Timing is real important on when we do things. But the best weed control there is, we'll talk about weed control here in broadleaf weed, is just a nice, thick, healthy turf. You get that, and I know my lawn, very seldom have I even used crabgrass preventer because it's so nice and thick and just like this. Yeah, so crabgrass, it's just shaded out and shades all the weeds out.
Yeah, that's one of the keys to not having weeds is have a thick lawn. There's just no place for it to grow. There's no food for it to eat because the grass is already established. So that's one way to keep the weeds out. And it'll take a while to do that. If you steady scratch and seed in the bare areas and you get them all filled in, then you don't have to worry, like you said, about the weeds. There's just no place for them to go. But it's a lot of weed products on the market that you could use, like we mentioned before, the crabgrass preventer. Then this weed out plus lawn fertilizer. All the time, I guess you need to take a good look at your lawn. You can be the expert yourself on evaluating whether it needs the combination of weed killer and fertilizer put down or just the fertilizer.
There's a few things we need to remember, Paul, when we're trying, if we've got dandelions we want to control or henbed or chickweed, that's when we're using a weed and feed, that are real important. And everything I'm going to talk about is on the label of the bag, and it tells us to do that. So we hope everybody reads and follows label directions. But one of the important things that we want to do, this morning there's a lot of dew on your lawn. And that's a perfect time to apply this material because the weed killer in here, which is Trimec, which is a blend of 3 weed killers, it has to come in contact with the surface of the leaf, and it's absorbed by the leaf, and it goes down and kills the root. So we have to get those particles, it's a dry particle, to stick and adhere to the leaf. And on a damp lawn, if you don't have a heavy dew like we do this morning, then you can slightly dampen your lawn with your sprinkler, make your application, and then we want to wait at least 24 hours before we get any rain or irrigation, because we want to give that herbicide plenty of time to lay on that leaf surface, get absorbed in, and we'll get a great control. And then not only are we controlling weeds, but also we're fertilizing at the same time. So we're giving it a full feeding of lawn fertilizer. Another thing to remember is when we apply this is to apply this in between mowings. We don't want to go out and mow all of our weeds down, and we don't have any of the leaf surface to come in contact with. So we want to do it in between mowings. And on the back side, we don't want to make the application today and then come mow it all up. So give it time to work. Give it time to work, Paul. And that's true of the liquids as well. But the damp lawn is real important with the granule, and you'll have success if you'll follow those tips. And again, it's all on the label. Right.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. A lot of people mow the lawn, then they want to put the weed killer on. Well, you ain't got nothing to absorb it because you just mowed it all.
Mowed all your weeds down.
Put it in the grass bag and throw it in the trash. So
that's right, Paul.
So you don't have anything sticking up, you know, to absorb the product to get out to the roots to kill the roots. Okay, now this product right here is a good one.
Yeah, tree and shrub.
Tree and shrub
insect control, systemic insect control. And it's the simplest thing in the world to use. This is great for controlling borers. It's great for controlling aphids, thrips, various insects. It doesn't do bagworms. It doesn't do some of our other insects, but it does do a pretty good range of insects. And rather than spraying, Paul, and have to wait for a day the wind's not blowing and getting out and mixing up and spraying insecticide, we simply just mix this in a bucket of water or a watering can and pour it the drench. We just drench right around the flare of the tree, where the tree meets the ground. We pour that around, and it's so simple. So if we measure at about belt level around the circumference of the tree, and let's say it's 10 inches in circumference, then we simply take 10 ounces of material, of the liquid, pour it in a gallon of water in a bucket, and pour that around the tree. If it's 20 inches, then we do 20 ounces in 1 gallon. Then when we get above 24 inches, then we put that mixture in 2 gallons. It can't be any more simple than that. And this lasts for an entire season. So we want to put this down basically anytime the ground's not frozen. Spring's a great time, fall's a great time, but do it the same time every year, and you'll control a lot of the pests and eliminate them before you ever see them.
And I do all of my trees. I just
a lot of people
and do all of my trees. That's a good product.
Yeah, it's been so popular. And
speaking of trees, we also got a fruit tree spray.
Fruit tree spray is now's the time that we're using that.
Right, in between your, and I don't know, I think my peach trees got bit by frost. They're trying to get peach leaf curl on them. Look like it's going to be a pretty rough year.
I think we had some, we'll see what fruit production is, but the key thing to remember using a fruit tree spray is we always want to never make that spray until all the flowers are gone, because we don't want to interfere with the pollination. We don't want to harm the bees. So we want to leave them alone, let it petal drop, and then we start with a spray schedule. And we want to spray about every 10 days to 2 weeks up until harvest. Now this product is an organic, natural product, so we can spray up to the day of harvest and pick our fruit and just be completely safe.
All right, Britt, we're going to have to take another commercial break. We're having so much fun. The time's just flying. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. We'll talk about some flowers and stuff. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. I'm visiting with Britt Elving from Gard'n-Wise. He's my Gard'n-Wise rep, and he knows all of these products. We're trying to get that info to you where you could have an expert looking yard and without maybe a whole lot of work into it. Brett, we left off talking about the weed killers and stuff, so now what's the next product here?
Well, I wanted to cover, we talked about kind of some selective things that the weed out plus lawn fertilizer, which is a weed and feed, the weed free zone, the weed out plus crabgrass, that selectively controls certain weeds.
Right.
But I do want to talk about Killzall,
okay.
high yield Killzall, Paul, and that's a non-selective herbicide.
Right.
It contains the same active ingredient as Roundup. Everybody's heard of Roundup.
Right.
This is Killzall, 41% glyphosate, and this will control and kill any plant that's green and actively growing.
Right.
So you can, one of the great things around it, it doesn't volatilize, it doesn't move on you, so you can actually paintbrush if you want, or take a foam paint pad and brush weeds up close to other plants. We can renovate lawns.
Right.
We can spray today, and technically we could come back in and seed tomorrow if we wanted to, but we don't, because we want to give it, like I say, plenty of time to work. You know, 7 to 10 days to work. But that's just good for just general cleanup along fence lines if we want, like I say, and it's got to be green and actively growing for it to work. So if it's something that's dormant, it's not going to work on it. So I wanted to touch base. So if you just need something that's going to kill about anything, but not leave a residual in the soil, that's great, Paul. That's great.
Okay, we know it's gardening time too.
Sure.
A lot of people doing gardens and stuff. There's an excellent product that's made by High Yield. It's the garden pet dust that you can use. And when it's raining like this, you know, we got cabbage in already. You have to watch for the cutworms and all of that. That's an excellent product to use in your garden.
That would be your replacement for Sevin dust.
Dust, right.
You know, Sevin is still on the market. There's a lot of restrictions on it now, and we think at some point Sevin or Carbaryl, which is the active ingredient, will probably no longer be on the market. So it's not, and now it's time to switch over to something that's a little bit safer to use, but very effective. This stuff is great because it's got a garden label on it, vegetable gardens. You can use it on all your vegetables. It's got a pet label on it, Paul, so we can dust our dogs. We don't use it on cats, but dogs and other pets, even livestock, goats, horses, cattle. For fleas, ticks, it does a great job. So, and it's a duster. They also make that. You've got that in a liquid spray if they like to spray with a liquid. But for those that like a dust, it comes with a puffer top on it, Paul. You bet, and it works quite well.
And we promised we'd talk about the plants on the porch and stuff. This product here is an excellent product to use. It's a blooming and rooting, water soluble, sort of compared it to Miracle Grow. You just put it in your water according to the label on here in your water. And a lot of ladies like to hang in baskets on the porch, you know.
If you want flowers and you want blooms and blossoms, this product, that's why it's called blooming and rooting. The fertilizer analysis is a 959.8. That middle number, the 59, is what produces flowers and blossoms. And it's a huge number. The other water solubles out there don't even compare to this. So this is a great product. It's very low in salts. It's very low in chlorine. Just a great product. And this is something that you use. You can use this every week, and I suggest that you use it every week and at least every couple of weeks, because it's a water soluble, so it's not a long lasting, but it feeds immediately, and you continually feed all summer long with it. And you can mix that in with the 20-20-20, alternate that if you want, which we don't have that here today, but that's the geranium hanging basket. But it's if you've never used blooming and rooting and you want beautiful hanging baskets, beautiful flowers, boy, that's the one to use. And everybody's buying flowers right now and planting flowers and annuals.
And then another product that's good is the Killer Bug 2 granular for your lawn. I think we're going to have a lot of insects this year.
Typically with wet weather.
And the mosquitoes
when it warms
already
up, I've already seen some mosquitoes out, even as cool as it is. And so we'll talk a little bit about the Killer Bug 2 lawn granules. That's for surface insects, Paul. So ants, fleas, ticks, mosquitoes. Because mosquitoes live in grass, tall grass, and so it'll work on that. The thing to remember when we use that 10-pound bag will treat 5,000 square feet. Control, like I said, doesn't work on grubs, but anything that's spiders, anything that's surface dwelling. We often, with insecticides, if people ask, is it safe for my kids and pets? That's the first question. I think sometimes people are more concerned with their pets than their children.
Absolutely.
But they want to know if it's safe for pets. Rule of thumb, anytime we make an application, once that we've applied that material, we've acted, it's nice with the granules to activate it, kind of water it in a little bit, sprinkle it in. Once that's dried and it's set, it's safe for your pets and kids to go back outside. If you really want to double check, you know, wait 12 hours before you go, before the kids or pets. But once it's dried, it's safe. Yeah, it's so it's so dispersed over such a large area that just trace amounts, but enough to get the control that we want. Absolutely.
And also this product here. Now this is a hose-in mosquito beater here.
Yeah. Yeah. We can use mosquitoes are really quite easy to control. We can use just about any insecticide, but again, a hose-in, the Bonide product is a great product and makes it easy to control. Yeah, and I think we're going to have mosquitoes again. And you know, there's viruses and various diseases now. Big concerns. So. Yeah.
Well, Brett, I thank you for being here today,
Paul,
man.
thanks for having me out.
All that knowledge. I hope the viewing audience got a good picture or array of products that are available, and they're making it easier, like we said, with the hose-in applications and a lot more, and I think a lot more of them will be coming down the line too, where it's a lot easier, more user-friendly to go out and take care of your yard and stuff.
And I want to say, if you need advice, go see Paul. He knows this better than I do. So he's been doing this a long time.
One other deal I did forget to mention, come see me, I'll hook you up with one of these. You see they've been used a lot. This is an aromatic sprayer that would fit on any of these balls and make it a water hole nozzle top. It'll screw right on, come right off, no water gets in your product, it all mixes in the head. So this is a neat little sprayer. You'll look like one of our competitors that spray lawns all the time. so come see me for one of those too. Well, thanks, Brett, for being here today.
Paul, thanks for having me.
Enjoyed
it's always fun.
This. I hope my viewing audience learned something about all the products that's out on the market that would help them get a good lawn, a safe lawn, and enjoy their summer picnicking or whatever out in the lawn. So thanks for being here, Brett.
Well, what we do, Paul, is we help, and if you need advice, lawn and garden advice, Paul knows it all.
All right, we'll see you next week right here.